All right, let's talk about linking chords. And what I mean by that is going from one chord to the next chord in the quickest possible way we can. Because when you're playing, you don't want to have to, play an A chord and stop the whole playing while you pick up a D chord or something like that. So we're going to find quick and efficient ways to getting between our three chords that we know at this point, A, D, and E. So this is half the reason I teach the chord shapes that I showed you with the fingers at the specific spots. So if you play guitar before and you maybe learned a different A chord, now you're going to find out why I like this one. So we're going to start with going from A to D. If you take your A chord and kind of just looking at it, and then make your D chord, you may have noticed that the first finger here on the second fret, third string, doesn't move. It's the same place for both chords. So when you're transitioning from A to D or D back to A, you want to leave that finger down. So that's something to practice when you're doing this. You're going to make your A chord, and then consciously, you don't have to play for a second, just looking at it, only lift up your second and third finger, but leave that first finger there, and then put down the fingers to make the D chord, and kind of go back and forth. It's just going to save you a little bit of time, make it smoother. So it's a way you practice, and you want to practice slow. And if you can't do very many at first, that's fine. But you just don't want to lift up the whole hand and put it back down. It's too much movement. So a good way to practice this, and I actually got this from justinguitar.com, which is a great guitar resource if you've never been there, is doing these minute drills where for a minute you see how many times you can switch. So what we would do is I'd set a little timer, and when I click my minute, I play an A chord, and then I make the D chord, really focusing on leaving that first finger down, play the D chord, and that counts as 2. Then I go back to A, 3, 4, and see how many I can get in a minute. Now, first off, you'll probably only get 3 or 4 in that whole minute. If you get 10 or more, kind of first time you try it, you're off to a really good start with that. But you eventually will get to, you can do 50, 60, which seems like a lot at first, but trust me, once you get these chords and you play a bunch, your hands are just going to learn how to do things called muscle memory, and you ain't got to worry about it. It'll be really, 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 really easy. Okay? So that's A to D. Now, going from A to E, this one, there's no finger that stays the same, but the first finger stays on the same string. So on this A chord, the first finger is here on the second fret, third string, and on the E chord, it's here on the third string again, but first fret. So what I want you to focus on this one is playing the A chord and then lifting up those 2 fingers, sliding that back but not lifting it up, and then putting up those 2 fingers back for the E chord. And then when you go back to A, same idea, slide it back, then put your fingers down. So that finger kind of just does this in between the 2 chords, so you're not, again, lifting everything up and putting it back. It'll help you with your accuracy, help your speed, all those good things. So that's A to E. So once you got that, do the same thing. Take a minute drill, see how many times you go from A to E in 1 minute, leaving that first finger down, just sliding it back and forth. All right, the last transition is E to D. This is the hardest one at first, but it's not terribly difficult. So what's this one? It's like A to E, where the first finger goes from this fret to this fret, from second to this. But on this one, going from E, it's on the first fret. D, it's back here on the second fret. So same idea. You're going to make your E chord, lift up those 2 fingers, your second and third finger, slide it up to the second fret, and then place your second and third finger down to make the D chord. What makes this one harder is these 2 fingers have a long distance to travel. But other than that, it's just as easy as going to A. So you're going to practice this. Do the same thing. Set a timer at 1 minute. See how many times you can switch in between them. When you get those fairly confident, we're ready for our first song, which is Bob Marley's 3 Little Birds, which is a lot of fun. So we'll get to that right now.